There are doubts about the number of gods being worshipped in Hinduism. People tend to think that there are innumerable number of gods and that Hinduism is a religion which has a lot of gods. And I heard one quip that if you keep on worshipping so many gods, it's also quite common among Hindus to worship many gods. So someone was making a quip stating that if you keep on worshipping all gods at the same time, everyone will think the other one will come and help you, and ultimately you will not be helped at all. I think even though it looks nice to hear it, this shows also to the extent people are not informed about the basic principles of Sanatana Dharma, also called Hinduism erroneously, by people including Hindus. The source book for Hindus, even though it is not very specifically mentioned, are the Vedas. Source book are the Vedas, which are 4 in number. In addition to that, there are 2 more books they are called, and all the 3, including Vedas, are called Prashnatraya. That is, one is Veda, second is Brahma Sutra, and the third is Bhagavad Gita. But even then, there is no specific instructions to follow any one of them. That is one of the uniqueness of Hinduism. As I said earlier in my videos, Hinduism is a way of life, not a view of life, as Dr. Radhakrishnan, a philosopher and ex-president of India, put it aptly. The core teaching of the Vedas is that the principle underlying the world of names and forms is a principle. It is called Brahman, the one which is attributeless. It is incorrect to say that it is without attributes. It is beyond attributes. We cannot say what these attributes are because we cannot comprehend it. But then how come that all the other gods are mentioned? You would find in the Vedas, the mention of Brahman in the Upanishad, one of the portions of the Vedas which is called the Vedanta, which is the end of Vedas. In Vedas, you will find lot of gods being worshipped. Vedas are divided into 4 parts: Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishad. Samhitas contain hymns addressed to various gods. The Brahmanas give you the rules to follow in carrying out your day-to-day life, both mundane and another is as the one who has renounced everything. Third is Aranyakas. This also prescribes certain duties to be followed by an individual according to his station in life. That is for Vanaprastha. I will be explaining this, what Varna Ashrama is all about. The last is Upanishad, that talks about Brahman, as I said earlier. Now in Samhitas, you will find a lot of gods being worshipped. Primary god in Vedas is Agni, that is fire. In addition to that, you find Agni, Vayu, Arga, Mitra, Varuna, and a host of others. In addition to, you have Purusha, then Narayana, Vishnu, then Rudra, Lakshmi, that is a Sri, then Durga. So many gods are worshipped. How? On the one hand, you say that the reality is only an abstract principle and there are no individual gods mentioned. Yes, there are no individual gods mentioned. But how come this is that so many gods have come into being? The reason is the path of realization. The object of realization is to be relieved of the modifications of chitta. That is, your mind remains uncluttered, pure, in its purest form, without any thought process happening in your mind which stimulate you, which lead you to perform action, which when performed produces counteractions or opposite reactions which leads you into birth and death, an endless cycle. At the same time, it is to be noted that it is very, very difficult to concentrate upon a very, very abstract principle. Let us try concentrating on something which we cannot really see without form and name. It's very difficult. Maybe possible for exclusive people who follow Jnana Yoga. That's a path provided in Hinduism. It is possible. But whereas for ordinary people like me and most of the people like me, it is very difficult. You have to have something to identify your mind with, to which we are attached in actual human relationships. Then you can be in a position to concentrate better, and you will be on the right path to realization in an easier way. That is why the worship of many gods have come into being. Now, it has gone to such an extent that some of the gods, whoever are mentioned, for example, you take Agni. Agni is supposed to carry the oblations carried by you to other devas. It has other inner meanings also, allegorical meaning. Then you have Vayu, which represents the air principle. Then you have Varuna, water principle. So, when you start worshipping, then people, what they started doing is they started worshipping everything, and they have added some more of their own, with the net result that there was numerous gods and there was a confusion. And what has to be done? So, in a system like in Indian philosophy and system of thought, when there is no religious structure is dictated and ordained, there was a lot of confusion. So, whom to worship, how to worship, there was a lot of confusion. See, Vedas do not tell you how to worship, because it contains only the principles. Later came the Smritis. See, Smritis are those which have come, which are remembered, which are being practiced. They are different from Shruti, that is Vedas. So Vedas don't tell you how to perform a puja. Okay? So, when this confusion abounded, there came a set of people. See, a religion or a system of thought is ultimately for the human being. When there was so much of confusion reigning around, there was a clash. Hundreds of gods, images, this, that. It happened. Then people got fed up with it. At the same time, there is one more system in Indian philosophy. Indian philosophy is not restricted to Vedas. In addition to that, they are called Shaddarsana. There are 6 systems of Indian philosophy, apart from the Vedas. Vedas form the basis of Hinduism. They are Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purva Mimamsa, and Uttara Mimamsa. Uttara Mimamsa is Upanishad, that is Vedanta we call. Now, these other 5, apart from Upanishad, some of them follow the authenticity of the Vedas, some of them dispute them also. But they present their perspective of the reality in their own way. For the present video, I will not be going into detail about their systems and what they say and how they differ. But they are accepted as system of thought contributing to Indian philosophy. Of these systems is Mimamsa. Now you remember the social conditions. People were worshipping a lot of gods and lot of procedures. They have independently organized themselves, misinterpreting things with misinformation. Confusion was reigning around. Then came Buddha. When Buddha came, see, when something is in abundance, when people are in a turmoil, it came about. Buddha came about, and again you had Mahavira also, earlier to Buddha, there came Nirishwara, that there is no personal God. So it went to the other extreme. The another extreme was directly from the Mimamsa itself. See, Buddhism and Jainism are relatively, or I would say it is totally different from Vedas in the sense that they do not accept the authority of the Vedas. The other systems like Mimamsa, they accept the authority of Vedas. Mimamsa differs from other systems from the Veda itself, in the sense that Veda in general has two portions. One is Karma Kanda, another is Jnana Kanda. That is, let us not be confused or scared about the names being given. Karma Kanda is that tells you how to perform an action. See, the procedures to be followed, performance of yoga, yajna, how an individual has to behave in a particular way is described in Karma Kanda, in pursuit of reality, Karma Kanda. Jnana Kanda is that process which teaches you how to understand the reality intellectually and then achieve it. That is also accepted. But Mimamsa laid stress more on the karma, that is only an action. Only if you perform an action, the results will come. See, when an action is performed, action is a form of energy. So when an action is performed, an opposite and equal reaction is produced. Right? So that is the reason for karma chakra, karma pala. So when you perform an action, the reaction follows. So where is the necessity of having a God to interpret? When you perform an action, even God is not above human law. You can find Rama was an avatar of Mahavishnu, so was Krishna. And Rama wanted, number one, he did not have taken an avatar, he could have simply wished away all these demons. Similarly for Krishna. After having been born Rama as a human being, why did he undergo the trials and tribulations? And why did Krishna also undergo trials and tribulations? Because you should remember in Vrishni Vamsa, where Krishna was born, a younger one is not allowed to be a king. Till the end, Balarama was the king. Krishna was only a prince. That's all, up to the end. And Krishna, when you look at his personal life, because of his karma yogic attitude, he was totally free of everything, but at the same time, the same problems, if you were to come to an individual, normal individual, he would have been shattered. If you look at Krishna's personal life, there is no great shakes. His children were not very useful to him. Okay? After leaving all that, so, why did they suffer? Because they were born as a human being. They have to perform karma. When they perform karma, they have to undergo the pala of karma, as every human being does. So, even in the case of God, when karma binds them, they are powerless to do. Because karma is more powerful. When one is born as a human being, God, as in his own intelligence, is not bound by karma. When he is born as an individual, as a human being, he is bound by the cosmic law. I shall explain how it played in the lives of Rama and Krishna a couple of videos later. But whereas what Bhimamsa says, there is no necessity for God. You just perform the karma. For example, if you perform Putrakameshti, you get child. So similarly, there are various yajnas and yagas. You keep on performing, you will get the result, there is no God. So this is the dangerous trend. On the one side, you find hundreds of people, thousands of people worshipping hundreds of gods. On the other hand, you say somebody saying there is no God. Now Hinduism was in peril. So there is a balance has to be struck. So it is necessary to say that it is not correct to worship so many gods, it is only a basic principle. It is also equally harmful to Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma that there is no God. So, it has to be organized in such a way, it is presented to people in such a way that it leads people towards the realization of Brahman in accordance with the principle enunciated in the Vedas and Vedic practices. So, Adi Shankaracharya, who came along, he systematized everything. Instead of so many gods being worshipped, he brought them under one umbrella. He established 6 systems of worship. Under the how each god is to be worshipped, what are the gods to be worshipped, and the procedures for worshipping. He has divided 6. They are called Kshanmada. Kshanmada is 6. They are Ganapathyam, devoted to Lord Ganapati, Lord Ganesha, how to worship him, the procedures. The second is Saumaram. Saumaram is worship of sun. Sun, in Indian philosophy, is called as Pratyaksha Brahma, the reality being presented in a perceptible form. Pratyaksha Brahma, one who is visible. In fact, the Gayatri Mantra, the holiest of holy mantras of Hinduism, is addressed to Surya. That is called Somara. Then the third one is Saiva, that is worship of Lord Shiva. So that details are given in Shaiva. Then you have Shakta, the worship of Devi, Shakta. Then you have the worship of Kaumara. Kaumara is Lord Subramanya. Even though Lord Subramanya is not explicitly stated in the Vedas, as much as it is quoted in Tamil literature, classical literature, and Siddha literature, he is referred to as Skanda, an offspring of Lord Shiva and Parvati, especially Lord Shiva, because he was born from the third eye. Lord Shiva is known as Kartikeya in the north, towards the north of the Indians. So that worship of Subramanya is called the Kaumara. Then the sixth one is the worship of Vishnu, is called Vaishnava. So the whole group of the deities mentioned in the Vedas have been brought into six groups, that is Ganapathyam, Saumaram, Saivam, Shaktam, Kaumaram. Kaumara is from the word Kumaram, that is son of Parvati. Therefore Kaumaram and Vaishnava. Vaishnava is from the Vishnu. So these six systems of worship has been formed and systematized by the Advaitic philosopher Adi Shankaracharya. So in general, the Hindus belong to either of any one of these six. In addition to that, in system there are village deities, family deities, and personal deities. I will deal with them later in other episodes. Please pass on your comments and queries. And for more information on this subject, please refer to my blog site www.ramanan50wordpress.com, and also the details provided as information in the explanation of the video here. You can also subscribe to this video, and for getting latest updates, please press the bell icon given. Thank you.